Everybody, it's Fleming here from CON.EX and Fitness for Life. Welcome to this preview of the exercises that we're doing on the CON.EX program this week. We're just moving into another 10-week or new 10-week period in our CON.EX programming. In these 10 weeks, we're going to move into different directions of movement, different intensities than will be the previous period we had. So we're working in, but still keeping it together. So there's a line, there's a goal, there's an aim of what we're doing the whole time, trying to make sure that we move better, breathe better, and just get better all over. On this week's program, we're going to use a little bit of equipment. We're going to use a chair, could be a couch, could be a small coffee table, something like that. We're going to use a couple of racks, it could be small towels, something that can slide a little bit on the floor. Maybe some of you might have sliders at home. And we're going to use a belt that could also be a towel instead, but something that you can pull against that's not going to break on you. So that's the equipment of this week. This week we're doing a little bit more strength type of work, so we're going to try and find a load that fits with that. We want to keep you under 10 reps, preferably, but depending on where you're at and how you're feeling. So the first exercise we're going to do a hip bridge using the chair. So we're going to activate some hamstrings, going to get some glute activations. So I'm lying down on the floor. I'm going to put my feet up upon the chair, and I'm going to pull my heels out to the edge of the chair. Not on the edge, but to the edge. Here I'm going to tuck my tailbone underneath me, so I'm pressing my low back into the ground. I prefer to lift my chin and pull my chin towards my chest to keep that activation. If you feel fatigue in your neck or pain in your neck, you can hold your head with your hands, or you can put your head down. But make sure that when you put your head down, to keep that tailbone tucked underneath and that pressure down on your low back. We want to maintain that activation of the core, and I'm pushing my heels into the chair and lifting my hip up. So I want glute activation. I want to keep feeling my hamstrings, and I want that core activation, so I'm not letting go as I'm pushing up here. So tucking in underneath, and then I'm going to pull myself down. So I'm not falling down, I'm pulling myself down. I'm trying to pull my heels towards my glutes and my glutes underneath the chair. Once I'm down, I can lift up again. Breathing on this one. If you can, then inhale on the way up and exhale on the way down. If you feel that's hard, then switch it around, so exhale as you come up. You can make this a little bit harder if you have the strength to it, and it gives you a little bit more resting time on one of the legs. So I'm going to put one leg in, the other one I'm going to just push up towards the ceiling. I'm going to again press that foot into the chair and lifting up and pulling myself down. So it's an active movement in both directions. So that's the first exercise we're going to be doing. Should feel it in your hamstrings, and should feel that pressure down on that chair, and that your core is connecting your upper body to your lower body. We're going to use that tension, that connection that we've gained in the first one to the second exercise, which is our split squat with a twist. So my feet are in about hip width. I'm going to take a big step forward so that my knee or my foot is off the ground on the back foot. I'm going to try and turn my knees a little bit away from each other, pull them away from each other, so I feel activation up on the side of my hip and in my glutes, and my heel on the back foot is pointing straight up towards the ceiling. Here I'm going to go straight down, so like I'm in an elevator, I'm going to go straight down. Once I'm down in the bottom position, I'm going to twist out to one side. I'm going to keep looking forward, but trying to twist my upper body without collapsing on my knees. I want to keep that tension out on my knees. I'm going to press back up, so I'm pressing the front foot down into the ground, and my hip, I'm trying to tighten my glute on the back leg. Shoulders again down. But keeping that tension out the whole time. If you feel this is too easy, then I can lift my heel on the front foot. So now my balance is a little harder. I have less of a contact point on the floor, so I gotta be more stable around my hip and control that tension in my legs. Or if you feel it's too hard, then we go down into an offset squat. On this one, I'm going to rotate when I'm up instead of down. So shoulders are down. I'm going to pull myself down into the squat. Up. Once I'm tightening the glutes, then I'm going to twist to one side. And I'm going to twist on the side with the front leg. The foot is a little bit in front of the other. Going to maintain his on about 30 seconds. So that's exercise number 2. Exercise number 3. Here we're going to use our belt. It could again be a towel. And we're going to go down on our hands and knees to start off with. On the floor. I want to grab the towel with both hands. And as I'm coming down here, to make sure that my wrist is not under too much pressure, I want to have my hands, hold my hands in front of my shoulders. I want to grab the towel or whatever I have, and I'm going to rotate my arm a little bit out to the side. So I'm going to put the pressure on the outside of my hand primarily. Shoulders are down, hands in front of shoulders. I'm going to lift my knees off the floor, just slightly off the floor, so it's about 5 to 10 centimeters, preferably not more than that. And then I'm going to pull on one end of the band here. I'm going to try, see if I can tear the belt apart. That's how hard I'm pulling. I'm going to push the ground away from me on the other hand to keep that stable. Then I can stay on the same. Go in, make sure that my knees are level again before I do the same again on this side, or I can alternate sides. But make sure that I'm not twisting around my knees. I got to keep that stability around my hip and around my core. If you feel it's too hard, then I can leave my knees on the floor, but I want to still keep contact in my toes. So I'm still pressing forward, pushing back. And that way I'm not putting full pressure. I feel like I'm not having full tension on my knees, but preferably more tension on my foot and on my hands. And if you feel the tension is too hard, the load is too hard, then we can go up on a chair again. Just make sure that when you use a chair that it's stable. And I'm going to put my hand in the middle of the chair to keep it as stable as possible. I'm going to bend my knees a little bit again here, grab the belt, and then pull. Here I'm going to stay on the same side, pull. Again, trying not to twist around, but here taking the load a little bit off my knees and my low back. That was exercise number 3. Then we go to the rags or towels and exercise number 4 here. So we're going to go down on the floor, and what we're going to do is I'm going to be on my forearms, elbows, shoulders are down packed. I'm going to pull my shoulders down and back, and then I'm going to leave one arm pretty still, and I'm going to try to slide one arm out to the side as far out as I can, making sure that my shoulder not pulling up towards my ear, but I'm pulling it down towards my hip and keeping that tension underneath. And then I'm going to pull that elbow straight in, so I'm going to use my pecs to pull in. So I'm going to be down here, and I'm keeping that tailbone tucked, and then I'm going to slide out to one side, making sure that I'm feeling my shoulder. How far can I go out without losing tension or without dropping that shoulder forward, but keep pulling it down. And I'm going to pull that elbow in. The other hand is just basically resting on the floor, so I'm not trying to do much with that except keeping tension on that shoulder so it's stable. So out to the side, back in, out to the side, back in. You can, if you feel you have the strength for it, lift your knees off the floor, but to start off, focus on that pulling in, shoulders are down, and that you can keep your core active so that as you're coming down, you're not dropping your hip, but you're keeping that hollow body. If by some means that your shoulders are not strong enough for this, or you have pain in your shoulder, you could do this up against the wall instead. And once you're up against the wall, you can still use with the elbows on, and then the further I'm down, the higher the load, sliding out and pulling back in, sliding out and pulling back in again. So that way we can get two things done, a little bit of wall cleaning. Make sure there's no nails or anything in the wall that you're hurting. And again, use the racks so that you can slide easily around. And again, don't go out any further than your shoulders can handle it. It's not as much the load as it's that movement pattern we want to create and that tension in the muscles. It's not going to hurt your shoulders. Then we have the last exercise, which is side plank. So we're going to go down on the floor on one side. I'm going to try to push the earth away with this arm. I'm pushing it down into the floor. My shoulder, I'm going to pull down and back so I feel tension in underneath my shoulder. Feet on top of each other. Legs straight, toes pointing up towards my shins. And I'm going to lift my hip up. I'm going to lift my chest up and forward. Be as straight as I can and press this elbow into the ground. And pull it a little bit down towards my hands or my feet and then hold that position. If that's too hard, then I'll go down on my knees. I'm going to pull my legs back and I'm going to push my hip forward. So I have tension in my glute. So I'm nice and tall again here and I'm not collapsing down with my hip. Pressing up. Here I can rest my hip down and push back up if I need to. Or if you can up here, lift again. But it should, you can lift the top leg, but it should feel not necessarily easy, but you shouldn't be shaking. You shouldn't be putting maximum pressure on it. Keep that technique nice and at a 10 level, 9 or 10 in level of technique, where 10 is the perfect technique. So you can control your shoulders, control that tension down through your legs, and find that weak spot or the one with the most improvement potential in the chain, and then we build from there. So we're building up, we're not putting maximum pressure, we're building, improving, finding that improvement potential, and then get you going for the rest of your life. So have a great day, take care out there, and I'll see you soon.